So this movie deserves a gold. But personally, this movie is batshit crazy.
Hello there, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children.
Now, if you don't know already, the movie Babylon actually came out last year. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see it while I was in theaters, but luckily it has actually came onto Paramount Plus and is streaming. Now, I will be taking my time to review this film because there's a lot I actually have to say. Did I enjoy it overall? Yes, I actually did. But there's a lot to it that I kind of want to dissect and go over a little bit. So overall, I just want to say this. A lot of people will say that Margot Robbie deserves an Oscar for this, and I couldn't agree more. She deserves an Oscar for either supporting actress or main actress. The film itself deserves an Oscar as far as possibly the best movie during that time period, though it's kind of tough because there are so many great movies in that realm that did really well last year. Even with Brad Pitt. There are those that are going to say that Brad Pitt did wonderful, and I would agree. But the only thing, though, is there are a lot of actors in this that does get kind of overshadowed by those two. There's Tobey Maguire that does a great performance as one of the antagonists, the main villains. So you do have Diego Calva, who is actually in the beginning of the film, and who does kind of progress the most as a character within the flick. He starts off as somebody who transports animals for parties, all the way to the point of being a producer of a major film corporation. Now, the reason why I say his performance kind of gets overshadowed is because of the fact that there's a lot more to his character than Margot Robbie's or Brad Pitt's. The other individual, too, is Hoven Adepo. Of course, I may be mispronouncing his name all entirely, but regardless, though, he did a wonderful job as well. The difference with his character is that his character has to battle racism in the time period of 1930s to the 1950s, during the hype of Hollywood. And that's exactly what this film is. It's the hype of Hollywood between the 1930s, where it was silent flicks, all the way to the 1950s, and so on and so forth, but it's the transition between silent movies to movies with audio. And that's where a lot of Margot Robbie's as well as Brad Pitt's character struggle is within that realm. Brad Pitt, his character kind of deflates after a while. He becomes less popular, as well as Margot Robbie. She gets heavily induced into drugs and other negative aspects during the flick and during that time period. One of the underlining things that I was referencing as far as Diego's character goes is it's very much a hidden love story too, because Diego, right up front, his character falls in love with Margot Robbie, her main character. And that doesn't really get shown or get hyped through the trailers at all, though it is in there. And that is actually one of the pillars of this film, is that love story that he has for Margot Robbie's character and the hurt that comes from loving a Hollywood actress, and especially one of hers. So that character development within his specific needs and wants as an individual is very much underplayed. But it's what really holds this film together. And I'm not going to say why, but you'll just have to watch it to understand that. The other thing, too, is the overall first half, it's a party. It's a legit party. Now, there's a lot of Hollywood parties to the point where you can kind of understand why a lot of rumors have flying within the 30s and to now, that you could kind of expect that a Hollywood Hills house party would be. There's a lot of drugs, there's a lot of sexual implications, there's a lot of nudity in that aspect, because that's kind of what we hear about the Hollywood Hills and Hollywood movies and the house parties, and that's what it shows us within that realm. Not saying there's not any now, because I just feel like this is the development of what we currently have in today's society of that atmosphere. Not saying everyone's doing it in Hollywood, but if you know the right people, I can understand where this kind of adapted from. Whenever there is downtime during this party escapade, there are actually funny sequences that aren't really meant to be funny, but it's funny. Like, there are sequences where, of course, Margot Robbie's character, she gets frustrated with the filming because she's not hitting the right spots, where the sound quality isn't that great, so they have to repeat it. And it's during, again, that time period of going from silent to when there's audio. So she may not hit her right spot that she needs to. She may overexert the actual audio itself to the point where they need new equipment, and it's take after take after take where her character just kind of gets fed up. Everyone gets fed up. The director's yelling. The camera guy can't last in the hot box, essentially, of where the camera's located, to the point where, unfortunately, he passes away. But you kind of get that funny elements within that sequence, because if you know anything about acting or filming, that is something that you can heavily relate to. And there are sequences like that is just humorous, though it doesn't need to be. Even in the very beginning with Brad Pitt's character, where he almost gets stabbed by a spear. And of course, he mentions to either the prop guys or the stunt coordinators saying that they missed. A joke pertaining to if they're aiming for him, they missed. But essentially, this movie is all about making movies. And it's very meta in that sense, where it's a movie about making movies. Same with, of course, the Fabelmans. Then you also have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So it's very similar in that aspect for the movie realm. And it's very loving, it's very enjoying, and it's love making to creating movies. Within the introduction into Tobey Maguire's, it takes far left turn. I'm saying that we jump start from going away from the movies and jump start directly into something more sinister. And what I mean by that is it shows and it implicates some of the darker side of Hollywood during that time period, and if not, some of the darker stuff that may go on to this day. Now, whether if it's, of course, again, sex escapades like BDSM, or you have other things too, like trafficking of humans. So, of course, they take them into the bunker, and it's just level after level after level of sinister acts. Now, I will say, though, the one thing about the cinematography is that it gets you engaging with the film. Yes, but there's one little subtle hint that I noticed, that when you're watching the flick, there's a red light that pops on, or it may be hinted in the background, such as like a red light on a lamppost or on a fireplace. And whenever you actually see that red light, it implicates and lets you know that something sinister is about to happen. Whether if it is what happens to one of the characters, which is, of course, they unlive themselves. But there's a red light. When there's lust within the film, if they're acting, there's a red tone to that clip. So that's one thing that I caught that I really appreciated, because it kind of sets the tone of what's really happening. Again, the cinematography is beautifully done. The coloration is beautifully done to make you feel like you're in that time. There's also a little bit of the fuzziness for the actual film strip or the film itself to make it look like a film strip, which is really interesting, and I like how the director actually went that direction. And though there is no really happy ending to any of the characters, and I mean any, you do have the gentleman who's a musician that's playing and battling racism within the Hollywood. He, of course, quits the Hollywood atmosphere to go play more of street level, where he's more happy because he had to deal with racism in there, and he got fed up with it. Then you have the situation of Brad Pitt's as well as Margot Robbie's character that, of course, I won't say what happens, but it's not a happy ending. Truly, the only one that kind of has a happy ending, but it comes with so much struggle and so much hurt, is Diego's character. And you don't actually anticipate the ending like how I didn't anticipate it. And really, it sets the tone of what this movie is truly about. Yes, it shows and depicts the style of Hollywood between the 30s to 50s. Yes, it does depict going from the silent era of film to, of course, adding sound to it. But really, there's a sequence at the end that really shows what this movie is truly about, and that is you, the audience, or us as an audience, the love of movies. I'm not going to say exactly how it happens or how it plays off, but let's just say that Diego sits in the theater, and it shows you exactly the level of progress that films have made between the 1930s and today. I'm talking about silent films all the way to even Avatar or The Matrix. And it showcases that. And really, the ending just proves that it's everybody's love for the movies is exactly the escape from reality that we all love and enjoy. And that's honestly probably personally the best part of the film, is because it's a little piece of sliver information that's thrown at you that you don't really expect, but when you really think about it, that's exactly what the movie is. We're sitting down, we're enjoying it, and we're loving every aspect of what we're watching. And that's truly what Hollywood is trying to bring. is enjoyment and escapism, just like if you would visit Disney World, Disneyland, or Universal Studios, or any other theme park. You're escaping reality, and that's exactly what movies are made to do. But even so, yes, the movie itself does deserve the gold. Though it was batshit crazy, yes, I absolutely loved it. I enjoyed it. I have fun. I'm not trolling my kids until they're, of course, age, because it's not kid appropriate at all. But regardless, though, the history that is trying to showcase the livelihoods of actors and actresses back then did a wonderful job and was beautifully done. What did you guys think? Did you see it? Are you going to see it after this? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you shop in the merchandise link down below where you can get a shirt like this. But also, thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next time on the next review.